What's our topic today? A listener question.
Oh, it is. I should go to the...
Should you go to the interwebs and read the question?
Going to the interwebs. Welcome, everyone, by the way.
Are you cozy now? Are you... Okay? You're barefoot again?
I am barefoot.
Fuck.
Can't see that.
Oh, I just dropped a...
Can smell it, though.
Just dropped an F-bomb.
Okay.
Try not to do that.
So, this was from a... This is a electronic mail that we received.
Email in the parlance of our times.
How do you accept the things that you cannot change? For example, slower runs, and when I squat heavy, my knees kill me. Those are just examples.
Right.
So I'm paraphrasing the email.
Cool.
The electronic mail. That's a good question, though. There's this dimension in this world, and it is time, and it's continuously forward moving. We have yet to move backward. Actually, let's time travel right now with the crowd.
Okay, where would you like to go?
We just went. Forward, of course, as Bill Nye likes to say.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so we just time traveled together, which was...
I would argue we're still time traveling now, are we not?
Correct. So it's a bit of a spaceship that we are always on, in the sense that it is always forward moving, whether it's...
I forgot this, how fast the Earth moves through space with the solar system. Like, it hurtles. It's a hurtling speed as the Earth moves through space. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. About as quick as when I run.
No. The opposite of that.
I can't even keep a straight face. But, you know, because time is always moving forward or marching forward, as you may have heard, over time, things happen in life. Life events happen, injuries, illnesses. Your body begins to degrade over time as you age. Because of that, through the course of time and your life, what you were once able to do, maybe physically you are no longer able to do, or you are able to still do it, but not as often, or as vigorously, or as passionately as you used to, and even mentally. You could see that happen with some people who maybe have post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury or Alzheimer's. Mentally, they're just not as sharp as they used to be. Again, because of time as a component of disintegration. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it.
Sure, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and it's how it's going to go. For me, the big thing in the first kind of sense in that electronic mail, as you say, is accepting things that we cannot change, and so that's tricky business. Because in my opinion, if you still have control of your mind, you can change the way things are for you.
Yeah,
maybe you don't
get to look at them.
Correct, and so if you start there. When we're feeling certain ways about certain things, if you adapt and look at a different perspective and work from a place of empowerment instead of acceptance of a reality you're not happy with, perhaps that reality can change, because now you are in a place of, you're in a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. Instead of saying, I can't change it, I'm stuck.
I'm limited.
Right. Or if you open up the mind a little bit.
My world is smaller.
Yeah, maybe the windows open up a little bit more.
So, okay, that could sound a little generic.
It certainly is generic. Yes, I agree.
In the sense that someone who, let's say, had a stroke and now is physically limited and mentally,
Right.
not mentally, but cognitively, because of the electronic impulse, or whatever, the damage that is done from the physical damage that's done in the brain now has caused neurological damage, as well as physical damage, let's say in the appendage. For us to say, hey man, buck up, it's all about perspective, is a little callous and broad, as we said.
It's a hard message to, yes, and that's kind of one of my fears in distributing it, but I work with a stroke patient, and he's made the decision to do the best he can with what he has, where he's at. And in doing so, and having that mindset, and he has ups and downs,
Sure.
and having that mindset, improvement has been steady, slow, but steady. He continues to get stronger. He continues to have less and less pain and regain more and more motor function.
That's great.
Uh,
So, it wasn't an acceptance of, this is the hand I've been dealt, this is where I'll reside. It was, okay, that was a step back. Now I need to figure out how to move forward differently.
Correct. Yeah. So right. I cannot keep going forward the same way I've been, because in a stroke patient's case, the stroke is limited to that. Or let's say with this email, the run times, whatever we're doing right now, the run times have stopped increasing.
Right.
And whatever we're doing right now, our knees hurt in our squat. So it has to come back to an assessment.
Okay.
And then formulating a different plan. And once you have a plan, and if you have a purpose, a reason why behind that plan, then you're empowered again. And I feel that once, because we see it in here all the time, once the person is empowered, what was once seemed insurmountable starts to see progress, and with progress comes happiness.
Okay, so I feel there's a couple things that I want to say about this. One is... Nope.
Nope, we're done.
One is, I don't know the best way to say it. I'm trying not to ramble. I would say, immediately, maybe rein it in on the goals. Like, pick one thing that you want to focus on, and then break that down into...
In general, or with this particular email?
both.
Okay.
It seemed like with the email it was the start of a list, but I could be wrong, of things that they were having to accept begrudgingly. Begrudgingly?
I think things that,
grudge.
from what I read in the email, it's not acceptance quite yet. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been an email. It's like, to me, it's, hey, this is going on.
Yeah.
I think there's still a way. Usually if you reach out and ask a question,
Yeah.
you're not an acceptance.
Right, you're not defeated, you're saying.
Right, and maybe acceptance is the wrong term, because you have to accept the situation to create a new plan. So,
Right, so...
there's still grit in that email. There's still desire. There's still a reaching out. There's still a desire, like, hey, I still got more in me. How can I go get it?
Okay, so... I would still say, instead of... And this is for me because I get spread a little thin, and it's hard for me to excel if I'm spread thin. So I would say, rein it in. I would pick one thing to focus on, one goal as overarching. Let's say, whatever. I would pick one goal and I would break it down into smaller, more bite-sized, mastery-type goals, as far as and approaching them from more of a Kaizen-type mind frame of mastery. So
let's use this email as an example.
Okay, they mentioned squatting, which I'm more familiar with than I am running. anyone that has worked out with me.
You don't hurdle. More like a dog. I believe the J is silent. Soft J.
I wouldn't know. I was swearing about that running today. Anyway, squatting, wanting to do it without pain of any kind, immediately to me, there's physical things that need to be addressed, even pampering that needs to be done, working on mobility, working on diet, mobility, supplements, if necessary. If you have some kind of joint issues, if that's what's causing the pain, diet might also be contributing to that. I have a brother who has gout, who now everyday activities are much harder for him. He's well, I won't attack him, but I like to give him a hard time, even though it's not funny, which is why, to me, it is between us. I'm not laughing at gout in general, but, that's a situation, another situation, accepting something, not to go on too much of a tangent, but accepting something that, the cards that you've been dealt, and figuring out a way to continue moving forward. So it requires a pivot, but it also requires honesty, self-reflection, taking a few steps back, readdressing the situation, and then continuing forward in a different manner than what you were before.
So it's basically like, this is my environment, now how can I shape my environment to be a product of me, and to continue to do that over and over again throughout each phase of your life. Like, hey, I can think everything's great, I go outside and get hit by a car,
right.
my ribs get caved in, my right arm gets broken, my right leg gets broke, all of a sudden, okay, well, that was the card I was dealt.
Yeah.
Uncool, unfair, how do I progress from here, instead of like,
right.
well, packing it in, might as well just,
right.
Alright, thanks life, I'm out.
So with squatting with pain, I would start with relearning the squat. If, when my back was injured.
So we're getting to mechanics, right? Because mechanics are tangible. We can readdress the mechanics.
Yeah, all this. I mean, mobility is visceral, right? Is that a wrong? Physical? Tangible?
Yes, the more you do mobility, the more you can usually see improvement. Yeah, sure.
So, but I would step back. Like, I relearned how to squat, how to clean, how to snatch, how to, a lot of stuff in here physically I had to reteach myself or relearn through classes. But what I meant was I had to start over. Prior to getting back into it, I had to admit to myself and accept that I needed to start with an empty barbell. So, not the loads that I had before, where I left off.
Did you do that by yourself, or did you have a coach help you with that?
I would say coach. I mean, you are a coach, whether you're physically in the gym or not, you are a coach.
I mean, did you hire somebody to help you recorrect? So some people, like you do a lot of reading on it, some people don't know the difference between a good squat and a bad squat, and they can't figure it out.
That's inexcusable.
Or a professional might be able to, well, maybe they don't have time to look at it the way you do. That's
well,
why.
Then don't fucking squat. That's not even funny.
Well, maybe they hire a professional to help them so they don't have to do the research on their own. That's how a profession is created.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, alright.
So but then you do know the difference between what's right and what's wrong. Unless you have an asshole coach.
Which they do exist, do they not?
But you need to be vetting people continuously. I'm very passionate about this.
I can see that.
I don't have a tolerance for that.
Right.
It's fucking ignorant and inexcusable to say that you don't know what the right way to squat is. There's many different forms, so you might be well versed in one, or your coach might be well versed in one. That's fine. But if you are going to get into the realm of, self-mastery, discipline, fitness in general, you need to know the proper range of motion. And then your efforts need to be in pursuit of that proper range of motion. It's inexcusable to move like a jackass. You know right from wrong.
What if they're just beginning?
I was going to do a video on this, so this is good timing. This is good. You have you and you alone. And then as you gather information and experience, you as a collective have the ability to do things the right way. You need to do things the right way. A lot of people do not have that ability, and you do. And every time you elect not to do things the right way, one, I see right through your bullshit. Two, hopefully other people do too. And they're judging you for it, I hope. Because I feel like that carries real... That's more important. Your character, your moral fiber is more important to me than your material worth. Or whatever else you're putting a premium on over the integrity. Especially integrity through range of motion in the gym. I immediately get upset about that because, and maybe it's because I've been spoiled and I have found coaches who have taken pride and ownership in range of motion, proper execution, safety, and reiterating that over and over. But I think it's also a pride in self. Like if I see someone doing something flawlessly, like an Olympic lifter in the Olympics, I'm going to do everything I can, physically, emotionally, mentally, to try to replicate that. So there's a ton of homework, like you were saying, in order to figure that out. Not just YouTube videos, obviously, that's one step, but you need to find coaches who can also get you to those positions, and the programming, and the diet, and the sleep that needs to go with it, and supplementation if necessary. I'm going on a bit of a tangent. I agree, but I can see the look you're giving me.
Is it a little bit of a rant, or is it a bit of a tangent? Which one is it?
Maybe a rant. But, we have the ability to do things the right way, so we need to do things the right way.
So can I interject here, or are you still going?
I'm just miffed by this. Like, I don't even... My mind is just racing because I don't know... I'm trying to bring closure to this, but, like, I'm just so...
So let me interject here just for a second so you can calm down a little bit. You're getting a little... So what I try to do is be a little bit more patient with people working their way through the process of understanding what's really important. Because everybody's kind of brought up in a different way through wherever they grew up, genetically, who their parents was, social situation, nature and nurture, all plays a role, right? Okay, so do you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're giving me the look.
No, I'm not. I'm realizing that I'm being a bit of an asshole.
So, and people have to come to terms on the importance of the process. So this person in this email, perhaps their coaches thought that they were squatting correctly, right? Or perhaps it's the run technique that's causing the knee injuries, or causing the knees to act up in the squat.
Or maybe it's diet, or...
Sure, so there's some systemic things that could be... No, you can't armchair these things because there's a lot of variables. Right? So, as people are progressing through mobility and strength, Greg Glassman, the founder of CrossFit, used to say it takes about 5 years to cultivate a good squat. Now, toddlers have it, right? They have a perfect squat.
Yeah.
And then we go sit in a chair.
Yeah.
And everything gets screwed up.
Which we are right now.
Right. So, allowing people to work through those processes and understand what's important. Now, what you're saying with integrity of the movement through range of motion, one of the most,
this is very black and white to me. If you do not have the range of motion, that is the only thing you need to focus on. So there's no load, there's no intensity.
Well,
there's nothing that needs to be added to that.
Sometimes load can create the proper range of motion.
I would argue that. I don't think that is the case. I think that you need to be able to get into, or at least visit, maybe not spend time, proper range of motion.
Sure.
Without load, prior to loading or adding intensity or time or complexities of, you know, the overhead nature or front squat or zerk squats or whatever. I think that it needs to be. I'm just being.
You can have that. That's fine. I'm telling you, clinically, I've seen people squat much better with a light kettlebell held in a goblet position.
Okay, which I would argue puts them in a better range of motion.
Right. With a little bit of weight, they sit down. And
we're saying the same thing.
Right. So a little bit of added resistance helps them discover a better range of motion. But that's not something we beat on.
I would close that with, okay, that's where you want to be, so we're going to work on getting you there without that counterweight.
And for me, I go back and forth.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
I don't think anybody. I'm not trying to argue how to coach people or how to coach right and wrong.
I'm still on my rant.
When people are, I think the thing that really chaps your butt, and it's this thing that we talk about to all of our clients here and regarding our team values and gym values, is once you know the proper range of motion and you can achieve it regularly, giving it away in a workout for a better time makes that time worthless.
Right. And that's what I meant by laughable.
Right. So it's
judging people on their moral fiber based on seeing that.
Right. So, but allowing people to. That's why we squat the boxes. That's why we squat the target.
It's so short-sighted and vain. And
it is, but sometimes people have to play the game.
There is a balance. I understand that when you're trying to push the bounds of fitness, even your personal fitness, if it's not relative to anyone else, you're pushing yourself further. Sometimes you have to compromise.
I would argue it's pushing your mindset.
Color outside the lines a little bit, so to speak. I get that.
I would argue that it's more about mindset.
But your pattern is what I'm watching. Mm-hmm. Not when you color out of the line. If you continuously color outside the lines, you are an asshole.
I disagree with that label. I feel like you perhaps weren't shown the proper way. And you need to continuously show why the proper way is important.
I don't think...
This is what...
I'm going to say it. I don't think that's an excuse in this gym.
I think if we hold that line with integrity, I think most people buy in here eventually. And understand, once they understand that makes everything better outside the gym, and that's one step closer to living their dream by holding integrity in here, then we're going through our mission. That's how I look at it. So to me, it's a process because I wish.
Right, and you are much more patient than I am, and this is part of the struggle that I have with coaching. You know, and maybe it comes from the military. You got told things only a certain amount of times, and if you couldn't replicate it on command, they swiftly reminded you, and there was corrective action to ensure that next time you would.
Sure, and that makes sense. It's life or death. But in here, I would argue that it's the difference between a happy life and a not happy life. Once you understand that the way you do things is more important than the score of what you're doing, in life, not just in a workout, in life, you will have a much happier life. You'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror much. You might not have all the money and the fame and all the illusion.
Right. So we're talking, about that.
But money doesn't buy happiness, and neither does celebrity. Right.
Right. So, yeah, it all comes back to me. It's not about the load, or time, or intensity. It matters more about the integrity of the. But in order.
But that'll slip too.
This is a double-edged sword, right? Because there will be times that you need to color outside the lines in order to.